Hey guys, what's up? My name's Ines. I write kissing books, and I'm back with how I write a novel. Today I'm working on the next book in my Last Dragon series, which is called The Dragon's Rebellious Sacrifice. Got it. I've got a lot of books, so I forget the titles all the time. Um, and I said in my last video that I was gonna do a brain dump and then come back once I figured out my thesis, antithesis, and synthesis, and I've done that. So I call myself a plot whore because I use a lot of different plotting systems. They're all in my head from my days at school, from my days in television, from trying to figure out how to become a novelist till today. So there's all kinds of plots and beats and stuff running around in my head, and I pull from whatever I need. And my favorite thing about Save the Cat, which is a method that I learned in screenwriting, is this thing that a lot of people don't use, where instead of using Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, Blake Snyder teaches about the thesis, the antithesis, and the synthesis. And let me talk about how that works. If you haven't grabbed your copy of Save the Cat, grab it. And there's a link down in the comments. But there's also a novel that talks more about writing. There's also a nonfiction book that talks more about how to use this method to write a novel, and it's called Save the Cat Writes a Novel, which is also fantastic. But I come from the world of screenwriting, so I'm gonna use Blake Snyder. So this is on his website. Blake Snyder passed away, so someone else made this. But this is a really great diagram of how this idea of a thesis, and antithesis, and a synthesis works. The thesis is basically Act 1, where you introduce your characters, but also with the thesis, you're introducing your theory of how things should be in this world that you have created, and you're going to be wrong. So you take a couple of chapters, a couple of scenes, and you explore how things should be, but it's not quite right. So by the time that you get to the catalyst, right before they're about to break into Act 2, you realize your thesis statement, the way you thought this world was supposed to work, it's not working. And then you come to it's hard to say antithesis after you say thesis. You want to say antithesis. So forgive me if I start doing that. But the antithesis flips the thesis on its head. And you're basically, as a writer, trying to prove the opposite of the theory that you just presented. Then, finally, you and your characters get your act together. And then in Act 3, where you have the synthesis, you basically come up with a merged idea of how things should really work. You've evolved. In the book, Blake Snyder describes it like this. He says, thesis, antithesis, and synthesis describe the thematic progression of the hero's journey. In Act 1, the hero's world is set up. In Act 2, that world is turned on its head. It is the upside-down version of what he left behind. But by mastering the surreal new world, the hero gains the knowledge to combine what was and its opposite to form a synthesis of everything he has learned. That synthesis occurs in Act 3. It is not enough for the hero to survive the journey. He must transform his world in order to truly be great. I highly recommend this book. I've had it since film school, which was 20 years ago. So I highly recommend this book and its companion, stepsister, Save the Cat Writes a Novel. So that's how this all works. And you can go to his website. You can get a free version of the beat sheet that you can just download and take a look at. But here's how I've broken this out. Remember, the book that I'm writing is Dragon Shifter. These women, the dragons need to sacrifice in order to maintain their human side. And there are no female dragon shifters. So basically the women get stolen from modern day to become these dragons' mates. And they're all modern day feisty women. So I figured out when I did my brain dump, which you don't want to see, it's just a whole bunch of notes that probably will not make any sense to you. So I figured out that my theme for this particular entry into this world is going to be, what is a hero? Because as a romance writer, I write heroes and heroines every single day. And when I write these heroes, they're always trying to save the heroine in some kind of a way. Because I'm a modern day woman, I'm like, I don't need no man to save me, and the heroines are the same. So all of my heroines save themselves. And then the guy, the hero, is looking all like, ooh, you're even cooler than I thought. Yeah, definitely. Let's make a life together. So that's something that I'm constantly playing with. But in this book, I really want to investigate this idea of this dragon shifter who was like, I know that this is what I must do. In order to make a woman fall in love with me, I have to save her. And the heroine, who I'm still figuring these personalities out, but the heroine, she's had childhood trauma, and I hate writing trauma. So I'm trying to figure out where the boundary is of what I'm comfortable to write. Still figuring that out. Um, but she's had trauma, and she's like, no, no man is going to save me. I'm going to save myself. So my thesis is a woman will fall in love with the hero who saves her. So that's what I'm going to be exploring all in Act 1. All of my scenes are going to be set up to test that thesis, and I'm going to be wrong. So then I'm going to move into Act 2, and I'm going to explore the opposite of that. I'm going to explore the antithesis, that a woman doesn't need a man to save him. But that's also wrong. So as I take my hero and my heroine through this, where he's trying to save her, and she's like, get away from me, I can save myself. And he's trying to let her do that. They're going to get to the crisis at the end of Act 2, and then they're going to have to figure out by the beginning of Act 3, the synthesis, that heroes and heroines need to strive to keep each other safe. That's what I want to prove in the end. So I love this method of Save the Cat. Even though I don't go in and use all the plot points, I love to start my books out knowing that this is what I need to prove, because that really influences how I write each scene. I always know that even if they're just sitting around watching TV or something, I still need to get in this theme of hero and save who saves who. So that's what I'm working. That's what I've worked out right now. My next step is to start to figure out the character arcs, which makes it easier because I know where they start and where they have to go. But I got to figure out the stuff in the end, in the middle, like what are their wounds, some of their quirks. I love this idea of using the talisman. I'll talk more about all that. So my next step is to make what I call a plot booklet. I'll show you guys how I do that. And inside the plot booklet, I have places for points that I want to hit in each character's arc. So I hope this was helpful. Make sure you check out those links of the beat sheet on Blake Snyder's website, the book Save the Cat, as well as Save the Cat Writes a Novel, and come back with me as I start to figure out who these characters are and figure out how I'm going to make them arc to get to that synthesis moment. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Happy writing!